Hello and welcome. I'm Sam and I've been in career and technical education for over 22 years. I was a CTE teacher for 17 years and I'm here to help dig up, unfold, and demystify some of the intricacies of CTE. My videos in this channel is simply about helping new CTE teachers, administrators, and community members understand how career and technical education works and how it's here to instill high priority, high wage, in demand skills for the benefit of our students and our community. Today we'll talk about the elephant in the room, the Perkins grant. So you took a job as a CTE teacher, and sometime in your first week someone said the word Perkins at you like you were supposed to already know what it meant. Maybe your director asked you what you wanted to spend your Perkins money on. Maybe it was a form, and you nodded and said something vague, and you quietly panicked because nobody hands you a Dakota ring on day one. Well, here's the ring. By the end of this video, you'll know what the Perkins grant is, what it's actually for, how shockingly little money we're really talking about, the one rule that gets teachers into trouble every single year, and how that money crawls its way from Washington all the way down to your classroom. No 40-page PDF, no acronym soup, just a version somebody should have given you before they handed you a checkbook. Also, if you really appreciate this type of content, gently tap that like button. It genuinely helps other new CTE teachers find this before they embarrass themselves in a budget meeting. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so the money isn't a gift. It comes with a purpose, and the purpose matters because it explains basically every rule that will ever annoy you. Congress built Perkins around four big ideas. The first is access, making sure students can actually get into high quality CTE, including the students who usually get left out. The second is alignment, making sure your program lines up with jobs that really exist near you, so you're not training students for careers that left town a decade ago. The third is connection, building what Perkins calls programs of study, which are clean pathways from high school to college, to a credential, to a career, instead of a pile of random electives. And the fourth is accountability. Because it's federal money, Perkins measures whether your program is actually working using a set of performance indicators. Those indicators are a whole video on their own, and honestly, they deserve it, because they're where most of the day-to-day pressure on your program comes from. Just for now, just kind of burn this into your brain: access, alignment, connection, and accountability. That's the why behind the money. Because there's so little of it, Perkins has one golden rule that trips up new teachers constantly. In the law, it's called supplement, not supplant. In English, Perkins money has to add to what your district already spends. It cannot replace it. Here's what that means on the ground. Perkins is not allowed to buy the stuff your district is already on the hook for. The regular classroom furniture, that's your district's job. The standard textbooks that every class gets, that's the district's job. The basic chairs and tables, also the district's. I know, chairs feel like load-bearing to education, but Perkins won't touch them. What Perkins is for is the extra, the things that make CTE actually CTE. The current industry equipment, the certifications your students earn, the work-based learning, the internships, the professional development that keeps you current with your field. The enhancing stuff, not the baseline. So the test is simple. Ask yourself, would the district have to buy this anyway, even if Perkins didn't exist? If the answer is yes, Perkins can't pay for it. If it's an upgrade that pushes your program beyond the baseline, now you're talking. And if you spend Perkins money on something your district was always going to buy, that's called supplanting. And it's the fastest way to meet your state auditor in person. They are lovable people. You just don't want to be the meeting. So how does this money actually get to you? Not in a direct deposit from Washington, sadly. It funnels down in steps. It starts at the federal level, where Congress sets aside roughly $1.45 billion a year that gets split among states by a formula. Your state takes a share and then by law has to push most of it down to the local recipients. We're talking districts, career centers, and colleges. Under Perkins, at least 85 cents out of every dollar in that main grant has to reach the local level, where the actual programs are. The state can only keep a small slice for leadership and administration. The whole thing is deliberately built to shove that money down to where the students are, instead of letting it pile up at the top. There's one more step, and it points straight at you. Before your district can spend a dime, it has to take an honest look at its own programs and the local job market and figure out where the real gaps are. Perkins calls this a needs assessment, and it's done with local employers actually at the table. That assessment is supposed to drive the spending. So when your director asks you what your program needs, that's not small talk. That's the funnel finally reaching the bottom, and the bottom is you. Last piece, why your district treats this relatively tiny pot of money like buried treasure. Well, because CTE is expensive to run, right? A real welding program needs real welders, not a very optimistic PowerPoint about welding. A health sciences program burns through supplies and needs mannequins and hospital beds. An auto program needs lifts and diagnostic tools that cost real money and go out of date the moment you buy them. A regular English class needs books and a teacher. A CTE lab needs an entire working slice of an industry, and that gear is not cheap. For a lot of districts, Perkins is the single most important dedicated pot of money aimed right at that. It is enough to run a whole program by itself? No, usually not. It's often a smaller piece of the budget, but it's targeted and it's flexible and it's pointed exactly at the things that keep CTE modern and connected to real jobs. For many programs, Perkins is the difference between teaching on current industry equipment and teaching on a machine older than your students. And when that equipment matches the industry, your students walk out ready to work. That's the entire point. And that's why 2 cents on the dollar every $100 becomes the most watched line in the budget. So that's Perkins, a federal law and a dedicated stream of money, small in the grand scheme, fiercely defended up close, built around access, alignment, connection, and accountability. It's one of the few things both parties can actually agree on. It has to support your program, never replace what your district already owes, and it funnels from Washington to your state, to your district, and finally to you. Now, I mentioned those performance indicators, the numbers Perkins uses to decide whether your program is winning or losing. That's where the real pressure lives. And I'll break the whole thing down in the videos to come.